So you started on YouTube, doing the guitar videos and stuff, and you ending here right now, touring in Europe with Andy. How does all of this came along, and how do you feel about it right now?
No, it's been fantastic. It's been quite an honor to finally hit Europe. It's been many years. Been started doing this 2004. So now it's 13 years later. It's a long time coming, but it's been an incredible experience. A lot of fans that I've emailed over a decade. I finally get to see them and just shake their hand and say thank you. So it's been an incredible experience.
And so, how did you end up collaborating with Andy on this tour?
Yeah, well, we've known each other about each other over many years on YouTube and stuff like that, and then I had scheduled a date in Euroblast, and I was I'm not going to come here for just one date, so I wanted to make it a tour. So then we're kind of looking for artists to do the tour with, and I always wanted to tour with Andy, because he hasn't toured yet as a solo artist. So then we got the tour together, and then we were like thinking about a way to promote the tour. So that's when the Wave of Synergy single came out, and we did a video together, which did very well. Luckily, everyone really enjoyed it. So yeah, it's been really cool.
And if I'm correct, your first opening part it's The Fine Constant, and then they're from YouTube too, I think. No.
Yeah. Sarah Longfield. I mean, we're all on YouTube. We're all there. So yeah, they're also from America as well, instrumental guitar, and there's definitely very different than what Andy and I do, but it's still very appropriate. It still works.
And about your guitar playing, you got heavy rhythms like gent metalcore stuff, but in the lead it's way more aerial, like planning and like really high in the sky. So, what were your influences, and how did they grow up through time?
Yeah, for myself, I've always been very focused on melodic guitar playing. Very catchy melodies, melodies that people can remember and that they can hum. But yeah, I was definitely very influenced by heavier music, and as time gradually went on, I kind of I haven't listened to heavy music in quite a long time now. Maybe like past 4 years. I listen to see what's happening, but I don't really listen to it leisurely. I listen to very chilled out music. But yeah, so once I had my sound, now I know what I want to say behind the guitar, and I just kind of stick with that. And yeah, it's always the melody first, the song first, because a million guitar players can go, that's not necessarily what I want to do. I want to do something that inspires people and that they resonate and they understand what I'm trying to say without words. Yeah.
What are you trying to say?
A lot of things. Yes. I mean, a lot of the time it's, I think that when you play instrumental music, it can be complicated, In the blues, it's very simple. Whereas when you're playing, I guess, instrumental music or the way that we kind of play, it's a little bit more complex. I feel like it's because the problems today are more complex, and how we perceive the world can be a little more complex. So it goes from that to maybe something like, and it's instead of saying I'm sad, it's saying I'm sad because of this and this and this and this, or I'm excited about this and this and this. But that's just my story. When someone's listening to it, it's a completely different interpretation. So a song that could be about my friend dying could be about a relationship ending for someone else. And I think that's the beautiful thing about instrumental music.
And so your playing came directly from blues, but you like elaborated around it for the years.
Yeah, not necessarily from blues, but I mean, it definitely expanded from just like basic, metal or rock songs, and even pop songs as well. Anything that's catchy and memorable and melodic.
And I sense like a little bit of Dream Theater, Petrucci, and intervals in your guitar playing. Have they been like idols or references to you, or did you just pick whatever you got in hand?
For me, early on, it was really Eric Johnson, that I first listened to, then Malmsteen. And then after that, I mean, the only guitarist that really inspires me tremendously is Matthias Eklund. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of him. He plays in a band called Free Kitchen, and he's just unbelievable. He's just so unique. He's such an individual, and yeah, he was pretty much the only guy that really has influenced me lately, But aside from that, really, again, I figured out what my style and what I want to say, so I just kind of stick with that.
And so you play a lot of leads in guitar, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I've never seen a featuring with a singer or else. So how did you end up? Why did you choose to not get clean voice or a voice in every style on your tracks?
Yeah, I think that for me, I focus on my strengths, you know, and this was the microphone that the universe gave me, was the guitar, you know. So it is my voice, and it's it may not again be saying words, and you know, per se, but it's like if I came to you and started speaking Japanese, you wouldn't know what I'm saying, right? Or like if you started speaking to me in French, I wouldn't know what you're saying. But it doesn't mean that you're not saying something. You are saying something. It's a matter, I think, of people who can understand the language of just music and dynamic, you know. So if I'm playing something, you know, it's like it makes you feel a certain way, you know, as opposed to, you know, something like, you know, something like that, which is can make you feel a different way. So for me, playing instrumental music was an accident, you know. I just wanted to write songs, and then I got bored, and I was just like, you know, making little melodies on top that just spiraled into a career in instrumental music.
Writing these leads and rhythm, how is your writing process going? Do you start by the lead? Do you start with a rhythm? Do you start like programming drums? What's your entire process to get through a song?
Yeah, well, every record's kind of different for me because I love doing concept albums. So the last record, I mean, generally any record, it's, you know, mostly starts with a riff, and then it kind of expands from there. Sometimes the melody comes first. You know, Martian Winter, it was this. That was the first thing that came, and then everything else kind of went along with that. Whereas other songs like Venusian Spring, you know, the rhythm, you know, that riff came first. So it's a little bit of both. But for the last record, it was you know, what I wound up doing was, it's called Synapse, and every song's a different brain chemical. It's like dopamine, serotonin, endorphin. And I actually wound up painting my studio 9 times for every song. So like Adrenaline, I painted my whole studio red. Serotonin was green. Oxytocin was yellow. And it was incredibly inspiring because every time I changed the room and how it looked, it changed my process a little bit, you know, and what I wanted to say. And it also helped keep me in focus. Because sometimes as a guitar player, it's like, you know, you get overwhelmed and you get sidetracked and you get distracted. But if you have a big red wall in front of you saying, hey, this is your intention, focus on this, focus on this. So it helped. I don't think I would have written the songs the way I did if I didn't do that. You know, it was a lot of work, but it was very well worth it.
Yeah, it's something we find again in your video clips. Like with Andy James, it was all blue. With Nita, sorry, it was all green.
Yeah.
So is this the colors you had in front of you when you wrote the thing?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, this was we had it black for dopamine, green for serotonin, yellow for oxytocin, and yeah, I mean it was. We're actually going to be doing a documentary too, because when I was writing it, I filmed everything, you know. So there's a video on YouTube that explains it a little bit better. But yeah, it was, man, it was a lot of work. I think I painted the studio over 30 times because primer, and then you paint, then you primer, then you paint. You know, it was like about 30 times. It was crazy.
Yeah, I see. How did you end with connecting the view and the sound, and what does it mean to you having all of this joined together to write music?
Yeah, so it helped tremendously because I was always inspired. Because I think as musicians, when we're in the mood to write music, it's easy, you know. But sometimes when you sit there, it's like, oh my God, I can't write. It gets very frustrating. So I wanted to make sure that it was a very inspiring experience. I wanted to be inspired all the time. I didn't want to have to fight to get my ideas out. So, and yeah, the images themselves, you know. So if you look at the artwork, so there's 9 panels for every song, and it's pretty much a photo of the chemical at work. So endorphin is a nude girl with candle wax all over her, because that's how endorphins kick in. Adrenaline, we set a person on fire, you know. What better way to get adrenaline than setting someone on fire? But then the videos too. So the videos, you know, with Nita Strauss, you know, it's serotonin, it's a dance party, it's fun, you know, we're having a good time. And you connect with people and you feel confident, and you know it's fun. And dopamine, obviously, it's when we get too addicted to something, you know, like love or, you know, alcohol or anything like that, and we do too much of it, and eventually it's our downfall, you know. So when I'm writing the songs, I definitely get a lot of visuals instantly, you know. And, oh, I want this video to look like this. Oh, I want this one to look like this. So it is a gradual process, but yeah, there's a lot more that we're gonna do too. So.
And could you show us a little demo of the intro of Dopamine? How you wrote it, how you ended up with this riff?
Yeah, so that riff actually is funny. It used to be really hard, and now I'm playing it every night, so it's a little bit easier. But yeah, it's actually one of my favorite riffs. So it's in this key of C minor, you know. So how it's starting is. Right? So the one thing I love about this is that it's incredibly melodic within itself. So it's not just like, you know, there's actually melody within it. So, and it does require a bit of a stretch. It's like, you know, you're kind of like stretching over the string a little bit. But that's the part that captivated me the most, and how it's attacked, you know. You know, little slides, little things. And that's, I think, what's kind of shapes my sound, is a little dynamics that I do. You know, I love doing little slippy sliding thing. You know, the way that resolves too is really cool. And yeah, then it kind of just spiraled out from there, and then I had the idea for doing the verse. You know, so because that's very busy, I want the rhythm to take a step back, you know, so it's just like, you know, and then again, much like a Martian Winter, the rhythm comes back in, you know, with the melody on top, and it really gives it a different flavor. But yeah, that was pretty much like the whole process stemmed from that one riff and kind of expanded out into something.
And you seem to have a lot of gent influences on this. You listen to recent music, a lot of groups coming out lately.
Not really so much, honestly. I think there's maybe like 3 songs out of the 9 that are kind of like along the lines of that. I mean, everything else is pretty, you know, just kind of like hard rock, or like kind of has like a little bit of post rock in there a little bit. Very prog, like the song Synapse itself is very, whoo, man, it's all over the place with like some clean tapping bits, which I absolutely love doing that kind of stuff. It's very melodic, you know, playing this way. But yeah, I think that once I did Universal Language in 2010 or 2011, then I was listening to, like, you know, Vera Maya, After the Burial, The Eyes of a Traitor, you know, those types of bands. And then after that, like, I understood how I was going to take that and implement it into what I do to make it different. And then from there, you know, it just kind of like spiraled out into what I do now. Yeah.
And there's been a big difference in your leads, like 5 years ago and right now. I got like Martian Winter as an example. You seems like really in the background with your leads, and right now it's like you said, it's explosive. It's like, yeah, look at me, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna say this to you. How did you evolve in that? How did you come up to go in front of a stage to really say what you gotta say?
Yeah, for me, I think it was a matter of confidence, really, because as you're starting out, you know, there's definitely, I don't care how big you are as an artist, you know, there's always a self-doubt. You know, you always kind of like, is what I'm doing good, you know? And I just stopped caring so much, you know, because I found validation in what I'm doing for myself, you know, and I realized that, no, you know, the reason why I'm doing this is because I want to do it, not because I'm writing it for someone else. So that's why I just don't really care, you know, and I do whatever I want to do, however I want to do it, you know, I'm not tied to a label. Because if people resonate with it, great. If people don't resonate, that's okay too. You know, there's a lot of music out there that they can find something to relate about. But I think for me, when I'm writing, again, it's the song that comes first, but it obligates me to kind of sometimes push myself. I always have one song on every record that's a little bit out of my ability. You know, for this song, for this album, Synapse, it was Adrenaline. That song is ridiculous. It's just nonstop, you know, but it's adrenaline. That's what the song's about, you know, to push yourself and to feel a certain way. Whereas, you know, but then it challenged me in different ways. The song Adenosine, which is probably my favorite song, it's a lullaby. It's like very ethereal and very open and very ambient. But it's the way that it's phrased that was challenging. It's like, how can I explain the sleep molecule? You know, how am I gonna, emote that into the guitar? You know, so obviously I took a step back. There's a lot of delay and it's very lush. So, it was challenging in different ways. It was challenging technically sometimes, but sometimes I think the biggest challenge is just writing something that's perfect. That's why it takes me years to write a song, because I wait and it's not ready yet, it's not ready yet, it's not ready yet. And then when it is, we're good.
And to overcome those challenges, did you do it all by yourself, or did you ask sometimes to someone to help you, or to have a different vision of this?
No, it's all myself, because I feel like if I asked someone else for help, it wouldn't be authentic. I couldn't put my name on it as a solo artist. Here's a good example, like James LaBrie, right? He's an unbelievable singer, but he doesn't write any of the music. It's someone else that writes it. But I can't subscribe to that because, if they see an album and it says Angel Vivaldi, it's me, 100%. No one else is involved, I tell my drummer what to play, he'll have his ideas sometimes too, but every note I write myself, it's more sincere that way, I feel.
And could you show us your gear?
Yeah.
So do some gear too. I see you're on XFX. Are you going full numeric and digital? Sorry, or do you got some analog going on, or?
No, it's pretty much full digital. This is not really the rig that I use. I'm only using it because I'm in Europe. It's a little bit different. In the States, I use all Mason Boogie. I use the XFX for just effects when I'm in the States, but now that I'm in Europe, it's a lot easier to just carry an XFX, with this. So yeah, this is my rig on the bottom right here that's on. This is my XFX, that's my rhythm guitarist XFX. We're both plugged into a Carbon HD 1500 out of a Marshall, and his cab's over there. And yeah, even like the tones that I have. So obviously, like this is, I'll give you some tone examples.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So this is like my standard lead, so anything, Right, so then, aside from that, I'll use like, my rhythm. Right, and then I have a clean tone here as well that I use for like acid rain and stuff, but this is more like for like... And for the most part, that's pretty much it. I only use like 3 presets, nothing too crazy, very simple. And then, the guitar I'm using, this is my prototype with Charvel. It's probably it's coming out 2019. I think we're gonna do a production model, but it's a mahogany body, DiMarzio pickups, maple fretboard, maple neck, reverse headstock, and the Floyd Rose is very simple, but it just feels incredible, and it sounds great, so I'm quite thrilled with it.
Okay, well, thank you for your time. Good luck for the show, and see you around.